Because it's so wide and big, you wouldn't tip pepper in there, close the lid, and then shake the pepper on your meal, because it would all fall out of the base as well. It's big enough to get your fingers in. That's what it's all
take
about.
a pinch out.
It's definitely a snuff box, and this would have been carried in the waistcoat pocket. Why do you want to sell it if you're into birds? But
Well,
this is your only piece of silver, is it?
I don't collect silver, and it's just been sat there collecting dust, basically.
It's a super little lot, and thanks for bringing it in. And let's hope
problem.
it gets to the top end of the estimate.
Thanks a lot.
It's a little quacker.
Bit of quagga.
And Maureen braved the elements today to bring these wonderful Art Deco glass bowls in. What do you know about them?
Not a lot, to be honest. I'm hoping you're going to tell me some.
Okay. Have they been in the family long?
I have had them quite a while, yes.
And how did you come to have them?
My ex-husband used to collect them,
Right.
and when we parted, I kept the two.
Oh, really? And did he
Yes.
know you kept the two?
No, he didn't actually.
All right. I think he's going to know now.
Probably, but it's too
Okay.
late.
You've got two very good bowls there. The first one, if we look at this one, is signed, so it doesn't take an expert to tell you what it is. Lovely clear signature on the bottom there, R. Lalique, France, for René Lalique. Now, whenever we're looking at Lalique glass, it's useful to know that when it's signed R. Lalique, it was made during his lifetime. He was born in France in 1862, died in 1945. So we know that this bowl was produced before 1945. In the early part of his years, he studied as a jeweller. He worked for Cartier. By about 1890, 1895, he was in the full flow of glass manufacturing. By the 1920s, he was really in his element. It was the height of production. And this bowl, known as Ondines, was produced about 1920 to 1921. Okay, and it's quite a sought-after bowl. It was done in two forms, frosted glass and opalescent. The frosted glass is far more clear. This has got this lovely blue opalescent tinge to it. And it's a sought-after bowl, and it's a good design. Now, if we compare it to this one, again, it's a Lalique design known as Poisson, French for fish, produced around the same sort of time, 1920, 1921. But this one doesn't have the same quality of moulding. It's not the same quality as that by any stretch of the imagination. Now, I think that this is by one of the other glass makers, possibly Sabino, made around the same time, probably around 1925, but not by Lalique, in my opinion. It's not marked, it's not signed, doesn't have an engraved number, so therefore not as valuable.
Right.
Do you have any idea what they're worth?
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay.
None at all.
Well, Lalique, the major collectors for Lalique collect his scent bottles that were produced for Coty and also his car mascots. But these are also desirable. This one, being in the style of Lalique, 200 to 300 on that one, with a reserve of £200. This one is a rarer design and is going to be worth estimate of 300 to 500 on the Ondines, the better pattern, with a reserve of £300. If you're happy with those estimates, we'll take them to the auction for you.
Yes, please, yes.
Do our best.
Thank you very much.
Now, if they do well, what are you going to spend the money on?
The back garden.
Yeah.
So I have a swimming pool in the back garden that
Right.
needs renovating.
Oh, renovating. So you're not going to get a very big swimming pool for £600.
No, it's there.
Well, it'll go towards it, and
Yes.
fingers crossed they'll do well on the day.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
We're taking our items to Riddetts auctioneers to see which of our experts will be elected leader. But first, I'm going down the road from the International Centre to the Pavilion Theatre, where politics and performance have a lot in common. The world of politics is full of mysteries and illusions, but politicians aren't the only performers here in Bournemouth. Magicians have been perfecting their art live on stage in places like this since the seaside resort began in the early 19th century. I'm here at the Pavilion Theatre in Bournemouth, and I've come to see just a few items from one of the biggest magic memorabilia collections in Britain. Just call me the glamorous assistant. The Davenport collection contains over 75 tonnes of magical memorabilia, with over 5,000 books and pamphlets on magic. And it includes vast quantities of tricks, illusions, props, posters, letters, in fact, anything that's magical. And Bill Davenport is here to show us some of his family's collection. Bill, you've kindly brought along some of your family's collection. Can you tell me the history of the collection and what your family does?
Well, over 100 years ago, my great-grandfather, Lewis Davenport, he started performing and selling magic tricks. And ever since then, he's accumulated and he's handed down these various magic tricks, which he's bought off various people down the family.
Where did the history of magic start? Who started it?
Well, that's a bit of a grey area. People think it was started maybe in Egyptian times. It's probably progressed until probably about the sort of 15th century, and people were doing close-up magic and stuff in the streets.
Yeah.
And then it went from the street into the theatre and then onto television.
Can we talk through some of the pieces on the table here? Let's start with, let's say, the book. What's that all about?
Well, this goes back to the Middle Ages, and this is the first edition, published in 1584, called The Discovery of Witchcraft. And this was actually written by a magistrate who was trying to tell the officials at the time that these people who they were burning at the stake for being witches weren't witches, they're actually magicians. And this book is the first book ever written on magic in the English language.
So you could say they were the first performing artists, really, of tricks.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
Value of that book in auction?
Probably somewhere between 10 and 20,000.
That's a lot of money.
Yes.
Can I just hold it?
Indeed.
That's so much money. Now, there's a broken plate there. Why is that broken?
Well, there was a magician performing at the turn of the last century called Chung Ling Soo, who's actually American, but he pretended to be a Chinese magician, really for publicity reasons. And his great trick was to catch a bullet that was fired at him from the stage. And he had a plate which he held in front of him. The person fired the bullet at him, and the plate smashed, and he caught the bullet. Very spectacular, very famous trick. But in fact, in 1918, he was actually killed doing that very trick on the stage of the Wood Green Empire. And since then, 13 people have died doing exactly the same trick.
Trying to catch a bullet.
That's right.
And that's one of his plates?
That's one of the plates he used. Not the actual plates that when he was killed, but one of the plates he used on stage, yes.
Value of that?
As much as somebody would be willing to spend, but you're probably talking hundreds or maybe £1,000, something like that.
Is there anything on the table that's an early trick that you could show us?
Well, there's this one here. This is this is one of my favourite tricks. And all it is a small brass box. Now, the idea is you show this small brass box to be completely empty, OK? You then close it up, you then reach inside, and you can actually pull out a silk handkerchief, you see? And you can keep on doing this. You can keep on doing this all day. You can show this little brass box empty, you can close it up and pull out another little small handkerchief, you see.
Where does this box date back to?
Well, this one dates back to the Second World War, but the actual design goes back almost 100 years. It's called a Demon Wonder Box. It's quite interesting. I saw one of these on an antiques program a few years back. The experts picked up one of these little things and said, oh, I know what this is. It's the ashtray to a Rolls Royce.
How wrong was he? What else have you got in the collection?
Well, we have quite a large collection of magical posters, and these were used to advertise the magic shows going around at the time. And some of my favourite posters are those of Chung Ling Soo. And at the time, the posters weren't very, very valuable at all. And what the family used to use them for was actually wrapping books and things.
Gosh.
So about 5 or 10 years ago, we went down and we had the collection in the crypt of an old church. And I was pulling packages off the shelves, and they were covered in this brown paper. I cut the string, take the brown paper off, and lo and behold, it wasn't a brown paper, it was actually one of these Chung Ling Soo posters. So it was quite a find, yes.
And how much would they be worth?
Again, depends on who's buying, but normally about £6,000.
Even in that sort of condition?
Yes, yes.
Are you adding to the collection still? Is this an ongoing thing? Is it progressive?
Yes, it's an ongoing process. So we don't actively seek new things, but sometimes something may come up for sale, and then we can't resist getting it. Yes.
Where can you buy these sort of things?
Well, you can buy them in sales. Often you don't have specific magic sales, but there are sales of, say, children's memorabilia, and there's a small section of magic there. Sometimes they get lumped in with mechanical things.
Yeah.
But the whole thing about magical collecting is you buy what you like. You need to enjoy it, and if you enjoy what you have, that's all that matters.
But what about my favourite, Tommy Cooper? I think he was the best.
Yes, he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I think he's probably my favourite magician as well.
Everything went wrong. That's what I loved about him. Is there anything Tommy Cooper-esque here?
Well, we have a bottle and a tube that Tommy actually owns.
This was his?
That's right. We got that from the sale of his things.
Gosh, how much did you pay for that?
We don't know. It was in a big box of other things, but it wasn't too expensive.
And you obviously make the bottle disappear?
Yeah, something like that, yes.
Just like that, just like that. Well, before we go, I've got to have a go on this because I think I could be in danger of losing my arm here, but I know it's just a trick.
Well, we talked about dangerous tricks, and this is, well, obviously it looks fairly dangerous indeed. It's a miniature guillotine. Hole's a bit too small for your head, but maybe you can fit your arm in there at all.
Okay.
You can see the blade either side. Okay, that's your real hand. Here we go, you ready for this?
Yep.
Ready? Here we go. On 3, 1, 2. I lied about the 3. Still working, your arm still works?
Yes.
Okay, let's bring it out, that's good. Tight squeeze, there we go. And you can actually open it up.
I didn't feel
and
a
show
thing.
It's a solid blade.
And it's razor sharp. I think that's great. Will this be a trick of the future?
I think so. It's anything which is very well made is always collectible, and I think that will be collectible in the future, yes.
Bill, this has been wonderful and it's been very interesting, and thanks for bringing it all along. And if you'd like some magical advice on antiques and collectibles, then why not log on to our Flog It website at www.bbc.co.uk/antiques. Back at Riddetts Auctioneers, all our owners are hoping for a victorious day. Let's just have a quick recap of all our items that are on parade before auctioneer Keith Harris puts us through our paces.